When it comes to traveling to the Philippines, it's not all about sunshines and rainbows. You'll also have to deal with bureaucracy. And yes, bureaucracy is everywhere, but the question is, how do you deal with bureaucracy if you are a guest in a foreign country? Hey guys, it's Kevin, your visa guy here in the Philippines. Today we're going to talk about this guy that I've met a few years back. I think it was in 2022. During my experience in the visa industry, I think for almost 5 or 6 years, when I talk about bureaucracy, his situation will always stand out. So I'm not going to mention his name. Let's just put it as Tom. Tom went from an upset and discouraged expat to a peaceful permanent resident in the province here in the Philippines. So join me as I tell his story, and hopefully at the end of this video, you will learn something about his story. So stick around, grab a cup of coffee, let's get down to business. Okay, Tom is an American. He is in his 50s, and it is his first time to travel here in the Philippines. When I say it's first time, it is his first time to travel outside the USA. For 2 years, Tom has been binge watching a lot of YouTube videos from expats that are already here in the Philippines. Although those videos are helpful, but sometimes expats would think that the Philippines would be the perfect utopia when they arrive here. Sometimes that is not the case. There are also negative things that expats should know before and once they get here in the Philippines. And also during those 2 years, Tom sold his business back in the USA, and that is where his funds, majority of his funds, came from. When Tom was watching a lot of YouTube videos here in the Philippines, it's mostly the entertaining part. Tom forgot to understand the integral part of his journey to the Philippines, which is his visa. Well, he may have done a little bit of research about visas in the Philippines. So he found out that as a tourist in the USA, you can actually stay here for 3 years just by doing visa extensions. On top of his research, he found this permanent visa while he's still in the USA that he's very interested in. He confidently said that he can put in the deposit, no problem. So he looked into the requirements, and there was nothing there that he could find that is required from his home country. When he looked at the requirements, everything can be done here in the Philippines. So he figured, hey, I'm just going to go there as a tourist and figure out a permanent resident when I get there. And then he booked a flight. So Tom arrived here in the Philippines early 2022. So he got the 30-day visa free, and he had done his visa waiver. So after multiple 2-month visa extensions, there was no problem until he tried doing the 6-month visa extension. Okay, now a little bit of context. 6-month visa extension is no longer available today. A few years back, it was available, but only to certain immigration offices. Although they are the same Bureau of Immigration offices, however, these offices might have different way of doing things. For instance, in Bohol, a few years back, they allow 6-month visa extension for those at an advanced age, let's say 70 and above, and those married to Filipino citizens. Now, in Dumaguete Immigration Office, they allow 6-month visa extension to those who live in Dumaguete City. Now, as you can see, they have different rules. So they have different way of doing things. Now, let's go back to Tom. Tom was actually doing his visa extensions here in Cebu because he was still living here at that time. When Tom went to the immigration office, he actually met a fellow American who was also doing his visa extension. And Tom was told that, hey buddy, you can actually do a 6-month visa extension. You just need to approach that guy around the corner. So when Tom heard that, he was actually a bit skeptical. So he tried asking the immigration office inside if they offer a 6-month visa extension, and they said no. It's not available anymore. You cannot do it. And Tom was confused. And that was his first time actually to learn that there is a 6-month visa option. So Tom went out of the office and looked for the guy that told him that the 6-month visa extension was available. But fortunately, he didn't find the guy. I think that guy was already done with his visa extension. So Tom actually went back to the immigration office and asked them again if they could do a 6-month visa extension because a guy told him that he could do it, you just need to pay extra. And then the BI went, which guy? What extra payment? Are you trying to bribe an officer to do a 6 month visa extension? Is that what you're saying? So they went on this back and forth conversation that was totally unnecessary. So Tom was getting a bit scared of what's happening, so he just instead said sorry and then he asked kindly for a 2 month visa extension instead. Fortunately, the BI officer accepted his apology and proceeded with a 2 month visa extension. And that is also one thing to learn about, guys. Just because the other guy did it multiple times with no issue, that doesn't mean that you can also do it too. If the immigration officer will tell you that, hey, we can only do a 2 month visa extension, we no longer offer a 6 month visa extension. If they say that, then just accept it. There's no reason for you to prove your point because some guy outside the office told you that you can do it. Just forget about it. There's no need for you to argue. Just come back after 2 months if you want to stay longer here in the Philippines. After that situation, Tom realized that it's time for him to apply for a permanent residency visa. And remember what I've said earlier that he had done some research about this permanent visa? That is not actually the retirement visa. What he found was the quota visa. Now, a little bit of info. Quota visa is an immigrant visa here in the Philippines, similar to a 13A. Quota visa does not require marriage, neither does the applicant have to be 50. So those 35 years old or even 28 years old can apply for this permanent visa. The only reason why this quota visa is a bit exclusive here in the Philippines is that it's only available to 50 applicants per nationality every year. And Tom didn't know that. So he went over to the requirements, and the first thing that he went and complied was the 50,000 USD deposit. So he went to a bank here in Cebu and asked if he could open a bank account for him to send the 50,000 USD from the USA to the Philippines. And Tom was surprised when the bank told him that you cannot open a bank account because you are under a tourist visa. You can only open a bank account if you have an ACRI card under permanent residency. And obviously, Tom got upset. He told the bank that that's the point. I need to open a bank account for me to apply for a permanent residency. I need to open a bank account so I can send the money here, get the piece of paper from your bank, bring it to the immigration, so I can apply for a permanent residency. Again, the bank told him, no, again, sir, you are under a tourist visa. You need to get the ACRI card first that says permanent. You cannot open a bank account if you do not have an ACR that says permanent. So Tom got frustrated in the process because he was thinking that if the immigration told me that one of the requirements to get this quota visa is to put in the 50,000 USD, then I would need to go to the bank and open an account so I can send the money there. And then the bank told him that he cannot do it because he needs first the quota visa. So it's the chicken and egg theory, which comes first. So after that, Tom actually went back to the immigration office, hoping that he could ask questions about the quota visa. And the immigration told him that, hey, we don't do quota visas here. The quota visa can only be applied at the main office in Manila. So Tom, again, got frustrated. However, some guy approached him and said, hey, you can go to that agency outside the immigration office. Maybe they could help you get the quota visa. Of course, there's a price, but they can help you out. So Tom went to the agency's office and he was shocked about the price. When Tom was doing research about this, like when he found online, the price was only around 33,000 or 35,000 peso. But the agency told him that the price to get the quota visa was 500,000 peso. He was shocked. He thought that that agency tried to rip him off. So when he heard the price was times 20 than the original price on the immigration website, he was frustrated. He was upset because he thought that everyone around him was just trying to rip him off. So he got discouraged about the Philippines. The people are scammers. The people are this. The people are that. So Tom was furious. And Tom replied, hey, why is it that the price on the immigration website was around 35,000? I would understand if the price would be around 70,000 peso, but 500,000 peso? It's not worth it. It's unreasonable. You're ripping me off. So Tom, again, went back and forth with this person at the visa agency, And eventually he gave up because there was nothing that they could do that would make Tom pay the price that he wanted to pay. It was either pay half a million peso or leave the office. So he left the office. And also, before he left the office, he actually asked the person at the agency if he could do it on his own. And the agency told him that, sir, you can do it on your own. You can book a flight to Manila. You can stay there for a couple of months, but there's no guarantee that you can do it. If you pay us half a million, we can guarantee you the slot. And again, he was furious and went straight out of the office. So Tom went back home all frustrated, and he thought that all the people around him was just trying to rip him off. So he had a bad experience in applying for a permanent residency here in the Philippines. So Tom said to himself, this will be the last straw. If this mess up or if this doesn't work out, I'm gonna pack my bags and leave the Philippines. So he was doing some research online and he found us. At that time, I was still working with his consulting firm. I was doing sales or customer service, and he reached out and I replied back to him. He had this lengthy email, this upset, lengthy email, and I told him, hey, I know your situation. I understand your circumstances. I'm sorry for what you experienced. Can you please drop by the office so we can talk about it? In which he did. When he came to the office, he already had this preconceived idea that I was also going to scam him because I was working with an agency. And after 10 to 15 minutes of talking to him, I figured out two things. He doesn't need a 6-month visa extension. Number two, he was actually qualified for the SRRV, the retirement visa of the Philippines. The reason why he didn't need a 6-month visa extension is that if he applied for a retirement visa, the processing will only take 2 to 3 months, and he can do everything here in Cebu. He doesn't need to go to Manila. Okay, number two, about the retirement visa. Before he came here to the Philippines, he actually read about this retirement visa, but he pre-disqualified himself because he said to himself, he's not retired, so I'm not going to get that visa. I'm going to stick with this quota visa. When I explained to him that he actually qualifies for the SRV Classic with the 20,000 visa deposit, he was starting to get comfortable with me. I told him the benefits, I told him the cost, I told him the money will be locked into account, but it will not be 50K, it will only be 20,000. He was getting all positive, and until I said this to him, sir, in order for you to get the SRV, you need to get this one important document, which is a police check from your home country, and it must come with an apostille. He replied back with two things. Number one, what is an apostille? And number two, are you telling me that I need to go back to the USA to get that document and come back here? Is that what you're telling me? And I told him, yeah, that's a requirement. You need to do that. And he replied back, well, that's just absurd. I'm not going to go to the USA just for that one document. And I told him, that's actually fine. There is an alternative, but you still need to do it at some point in time. But there is an alternative. A little bit of info. A few years back, the PRA, the Philippine Retirement Authority, actually allows submitting an affidavit that says that you promise to submit a police check from your home country once I have the SRRV. That was the deal before. And the applicant is required to get or submit the police report in a certain period of time after getting the SRV. And after I told him that, he immediately signed up, paid for the fees, paid for the deposit, complied with the requirements, and after a couple of months, he got the SRV. For those of you who don't know, the last step in getting the SRV is actually the oath taking. It is a formal ceremony when the applicant goes to the PRA office to take an oath that I am now a resident in the Philippines under the SRV. I will abide the laws of the Philippines, blah, blah, blah. And after the oath taking ceremony, the applicant will already receive the SRV documents along with his passport. And that is what Tom did. We told Tom that, hey, Tom, the visa is approved. You need to go to the PRA office for the oath taking. One of my staff will accompany you to go there, and after that, you just need to go back here in the office so we can do some final paperwork. And after the oath taking ceremony, Tom went back to the office and I spoke to him. I said, Tom, congratulations, but not on getting the SRV. Congratulations on passing the first initiation of the Philippines which is sucking up the bureaucracy and learning how to have a ton of patience. So he shook my hand and we just laughed. Anyway, that is it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. This has been your host, Kevin, your visa guy here in the Philippines. I hope you learned something today. If you have questions about visas, let me know in the comments, or you can always send me an email at vin.philippines@gmail.com. Again, thank you so much for your support. This has been Kevin. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on my next video. Peace.